Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a genuinely captivating journey deep into ancient Indian mythology. We're going to explore a story that has a bit of everything. Immense devotion, a desperate royal quest, and a profound divine anomaly that's going to totally change how you think about perfection.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why does the Lord of the Universe have no hands or feet? I mean, it's the central striking visual mystery of these globally revered deities, right? Across ancient history and diverse cultures, we are so incredibly accustomed to seeing deities depicted with absolute, flawless physical perfection. We expect intricate, beautifully carved hands meant to offer blessings, and strong feet meant to stand over the earth. Yet the Lord of the Universe in this specific manifestation has neither. And to understand why this isn't some sort of accident or mistake, but rather a really profound cosmic choice, we have to travel back thousands of years and retrace the steps of a very determined yet totally heartbroken monarch.
So everything begins with the desperate quest of a man named King Indradyumna. And let me tell you, this was not just some casual weekend pilgrimage. This was an obsessive, life-defining search. The spiritual stakes for the king were just enormous. He literally left the comforts of his entire kingdom behind, driven by this singular, burning desire to find the ultimate manifestation of the divine. He was willing to risk everything, pushing himself and his followers to their absolute breaking points, all for the chance to just stand in the presence of a very specific, hidden idol.
What he was seeking was something called Nila Madhava. This was a secret, sapphire blue form of Lord Vishnu. Now, this wasn't some deity prominently displayed in a grand, easily accessible city temple. Not at all. Nila Madhava was hidden away, worshipped in absolute secrecy, deep within the ancient, incredibly dense, and largely unmapped forests of Odisha. Just picture that, beautiful imagery for a second. A sapphire blue deity hidden away in a lush green wilderness. It kind of tells you exactly why the king was so desperate to witness this divine presence for himself, doesn't it? It was a secret heavily guarded by the forest itself.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the geographical scale of the king's exhausting journey was just massive. Starting right in the heart of central India, in Avanti, he and his whole entourage had to navigate across incredibly rapid, dangerous rivers, moving steadily eastward. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity, they arrive on the eastern coast, stepping into the thick, ancient forests of Utkala, which we know today as modern-day Odisha. The physical toll of trekking across ancient India like this would have been unbelievable, all culminating in this final, dramatic arrival at the secret location.
But here is where the tragedy actually strikes. After surviving the rivers, after hacking through the dense forest, and after finally reaching the exact spot where the sapphire blue deity was supposedly worshipped, the king is met with empty space. The deity had miraculously vanished, and it didn't just disappear into the bushes. The source material explicitly notes that it vanished entirely back into the cosmos. Just imagine that absolutely heartbreaking moment. After risking literally everything, the king arrives just a moment too late. His grand, life-defining quest ends in what feels like a totally devastating failure.
Well, thankfully, the story is far from over. Heartbroken and weeping, the king eventually falls into a deep sleep, and he's visited by a divine dream. In this dream, the Lord actually comforts him and makes this incredible promise. He promises to return to the king. But, and this is key, he won't return in the form of stone or as the sapphire blue Nila Madhava. Instead, the dream reveals that the Lord will arrive from the roaring ocean waves of Puri. He is going to manifest as a massive, glowing, celestial log washing ashore. It's such a stunning visual, right? A radiant, sacred piece of wood just floating in the vast sea, carrying the raw presence of the divine. So, when this massive, glowing log finally washes ashore exactly as the dream foretold, a whole new challenge pops up. Who on earth is worthy of carving such a sacred, cosmic material? Enter Vishwakarma. He is quite literally the architect of the gods. But he doesn't just descend in a blaze of divine glory, he arrives in disguise, appearing as a mysterious old carpenter. He approaches the king and offers to carve the sacred celestial log into the deity. But his offer comes with a very firm, non-negotiable condition.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible tension between the strict rule and human nature. The carver's condition was absolutely clear. He must be locked inside the temple chamber, completely alone with the glowing wood, for exactly 21 days of absolute, undisturbed silence. Nobody goes in, nobody even peeks. But, well, tragic reality intervened. After 15 days of hearing absolutely nothing from inside that chamber, no sound of carving, no tools hitting wood, just dead silence, the anxious queen simply couldn't take it anymore.
Convinced the old man had starved or died, her impatience and worry just peaked, and she forced those heavy doors open early.
The immediate consequence of the queen forcing those doors open was devastating. The very second the seal of the chamber was broken, the disguised architect of the gods instantly vanished. Poof, gone. The strict condition was broken, and so the mysterious carver disappeared without a single trace, leaving his sacred, incredibly important work abruptly halted in time.
When the king and queen desperately rushed into the silent room, this is what they found left behind. They didn't find one perfectly finished idol, but 3 unfinished deities. They found the forms of Jagannath, his brother Balabhadra, and his sister Subhadra. Because the carving was interrupted abruptly on the 15th day, these sacred forms were left completely armless and legless. Seeing this, the king was beyond distressed. He broke down weeping, totally convinced he had ruined his one and only chance to bring the Lord into the world by failing to uphold his end of the bargain.
So, the crucial point is, right in the midst of the king's bitter weeping, a heavenly voice suddenly echoed through the chamber, delivering the absolute emotional climax of our story. This is the form I choose. My love has no need for physical hands to bless the world. Wow, the lack of limbs wasn't a failure of the carver, nor was it a tragedy caused by the queen's impatience. It was a deliberate cosmic design. The divine was communicating that boundless, unconditional love transcends mere physical attributes entirely.
And so, these brilliantly unique forms were fully, unconditionally embraced. In fact, if you were to look at a layout of the magnificent temple complex today and walk straight through the grand Eastern Lion Gate, which is known as the Singadwara, you would find yourself looking right at the grand altar. There, Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, took his eternal seat alongside Balabhadra and Subhadra in Puri. They aren't viewed as just statues, but as the living Lord, residing exactly in the unique, unsculpted form the heavens themselves chose. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate philosophical takeaway of this explainer. The manifestation of Lord Jagannath stands as a timeless, powerful monument to 3 core pillars. First, love. A love so incredibly vast that it doesn't even require physical hands to embrace humanity. Second, surrender. The total surrender of King Indradyumna, who had to set aside his own ego and accept the divine will over his own expectations of what a perfect idol should look like. And third, divine mystery, the undeniable truth that the cosmos works in ways that are far, far beyond human logic or our strict little conditions.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final lingering thought. Looking back at the story of the vanished Nilamadhava, the glowing log, and the unfinished carving, does true divine power require a perfect physical form or simply perfect love? It's a question that completely challenges our everyday assumptions about what perfection really is. And honestly, it's the exact reason why the enduring mystery of Puri continues to captivate the world to this very day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll catch you next time.
When you picture an ancient Hindu deity, a specific image likely comes to mind. Perfect anatomical proportions, carved from flawless stone and wielding cosmic weapons in multiple hands. But inside one of India's most famous temples sits a sharp departure from that aesthetic. The idol of Lord Jagannath is a blocky wooden figure with massive eyes and a complete lack of arms or legs. To an uninitiated observer, this highly revered idol appears less like a supreme being and more like a crude, unfinished draft. Yet this figure commands a global following. During the annual Rath Yatra festival, hundreds of thousands of people gather in Puri to pull these massive chariots through the streets. Millions worship this idol today because of a historical event that happened thousands of years ago. It wasn't a lack of skill that left the statue unfinished, but a specific mistake made by a king. Lord Jagannath's missing limbs mark the exact moment a seemingly ruined carving transformed into a symbol of divine acceptance. Thousands of years ago, in ancient Avanti, King Indradyumna was consumed by an obsessive quest to find the perfect physical manifestation of his god. He was searching for Nilamadhava, a secret sapphire blue deity of perfect proportions hidden deep in the eastern forests of Utkala. When the king finally reached the site, the pristine sapphire deity had miraculously vanished back into the cosmos just before he could claim it. In his despair over losing that physical perfection, the king was answered by a divine dream promising the deity's return in an entirely unexpected form. The dream revealed that the deity would return as a massive, glowing, celestial wooden log, washing ashore amidst the roaring ocean waves of Puri. King Indrayumna's pursuit of a perfect sapphire had failed. Now he stood on the shoreline of Puri, facing a raw, unshaped log that had replaced his vision of a jeweled god. A mysterious, disguised craftsman, the divine architect Vishwakarma, arrived to carve the celestial log. He set one absolute condition. He would work alone inside a sealed temple chamber, and no one could disturb him for exactly 21 days. As the days passed, an unnerving silence emanated from behind the heavy wooden doors. The weight began to take a toll on the royal family. On the 15th day, that silence convinced the anxious queen that the elderly carver had died inside the chamber. Yielding to the panic, the king ordered the heavy sealed doors to be forced open, breaking the divine rule. This human impatience, driven by a need to visually verify the carving, ended the chance at achieving physical perfection. Inside the chamber, the carver had vanished. His tools lay on the floor, but he was nowhere to be found. On the altar sat 3 figures. Rough and blocky, completely devoid of arms and legs, the king wept over the idols. He believed his impatience had destroyed the manifestation of his god, leaving him with nothing but ruins. But a heavenly voice suddenly echoed through the chamber, halting the king's grief. The voice declared this was no accident. The Lord announced this form was exactly what he chooses. Divine love has no need for physical hands to bless the world. These unfinished forms were moved to their eternal home as the living lords of Puri. Lord Jagannath remains in this form today, a monument to the idea that divine love operates without the need for physical hands, requiring only the surrender the king finally offered in that silent chamber.